So today we're going to be talking about Sean Strickland, and does Sean Strickland now need a new head coach and a new team? So this right here is Sean Strickland's head coach Eric Nicksick on the Ariel Helwani show. He went on here to talk about UFC 312, the rematch between DDP Sean Strickland's performance, and I'm going to be honest, he does throw Sean Strickland under the bus in this interview. I do want to say though, Ariel Helwani is very good at his job. The way this guy words his questions and is able to poke and prod certain information out of people, the guy knows what he's doing. Ariel Helwani has done a couple of interviews, I'm guessing, before with how good he is at interviewing people. Although what I will say is, I noticed it in this interview. Obviously, Ariel Helwani and Sean Strickland, I'm taking a wild guess here, don't have the same view on the world as one another. So when he's asking questions in this interview, it does kind of come across that Ariel Helwani is just kind of piling on top of the Sean Strickland hatred that he's getting and continuing to get after this DDP matchup. But let's react to the first clip.
Just uninspired fighting to me. It just seemed like he was sleepwalking, Yeah, it was tough, man. I was just trying to dig him out of it, through the rounds. I didn't know if he was trying to collect data in the beginning or if it was just a slow start or what was going on, but
right, this is what I think was the main issue for Sean Strickland in this rematch. Number one being, Sean Strickland has never adapted his style.
Bruh.
So Sean Strickland has always fought the exact same way, and this was a big reason as to why I was picking DDP to beat him in the rematch. Was DDP is constantly adapting and improving. Some fights DDP will strike more, other fights he will grapple more. Sean Strickland fights the exact same every single time. The only reason Sean Strickland's style might look better in certain fights than it does in others is because Sean Strickland's style is overwhelming the person he's fighting. They haven't figured it out. DDP figured Sean Strickland's style out after their first fight. So DDP knew what to expect going into the second fight. It was never going to be anything new. It's not as if Strickland might be grappling heavy in this fight. No, Strickland's going to come in and jab and tape and do the exact same thing he done in the first fight. The exact same thing. That's Sean Strickland's problem. The guy does not adapt his style. And essentially, when the first bell rang for their rematch, DDP already knew what was going to be coming back at him. The guy has already figured this style out, especially because DDP is very well coached. And that was another reason as to why I was very confident in DDP winning, was the fact that he is very well coached, and I think him and his team are very good at game planning. So they would have came up with a good strategy to beat a style like Sean Strickland. And again, what makes it easier for preparing for a rematch against Sean Strickland is you're not constantly going, well, what's he going to change here? Is he going to be more offensive instead of defensive this time around? No. Sean Strickland is always defense first, offense second. This guy fights the exact same every single time. Another thing, and this is not me making an excuse, like I said, I wanted DDP to win. I'm not like this big diehard Sean Strickland fan. The guy had staph infection going into this fight.
Bruh.
And Eric Nicksick did confirm it, that he was on antibiotics, and for those who know, antibiotics do fuck you up, especially draining your energy and stuff like that. I mean, look at the likes of Benoit Saint Denis when he was in there with Dustin Poirier, although you could say, what about Merab and Islam? They had it, but we know where those guys are from. Do you know what I mean? It has to do with that. What side of the cliff was Sean Strickland born on? He wasn't. He's spent his life living in California. You know what I mean? So those guys are different. They're built different. Let's just call it what it is. But yeah, that was always going to be Sean Strickland's difficulty going into, especially not even going into a rematch with DDP. It's going to be a thing that Sean Strickland struggles with going into a rematch against anybody. Like, even if Sean Strickland rematches Adesanya next, I think Adesanya will have a lot more success. He basically had none first time round against Sean Strickland, but will have a lot more success second time round, as they will know what to expect this time now. Because Sean Strickland does not change his fight style. It's always defense first, offense second, jab and tape, and he's leaning back, very light on his lead leg, heavy on his back leg. That is exactly how Sean Strickland fights.
As the rounds began to progress, I can just tell that it just didn't feel like he was in it the way most of the times that he is. So, yeah, it was tough, man. It was tough 25 minutes to travel all the way out there, and like, man, let's not forget this is a title fight, and I take these title fights very seriously, and just I don't know, I was just disappointed, man. I was disappointed with the whole entire outcome, the whole fight as a process. Just thought it was just kind of flat.
Now, obviously, you can be disappointed in his performance. I'm sure he is. I'm sure there's a lot of things that Eric Nicksick and Sean Strickland and the other coaches in the gym went over game planning and preparing for DDP that Sean Strickland just essentially didn't get to use in this matchup. But to come on an interview like this where there's a lot of eyes, especially when Sean Strickland's name is going to be in the title. Sean Strickland is a big name now in the UFC. Interviews including his name. And Ariel Helwani's show in general just does bring a lot of eyeballs, especially people who watch the sport of MMA. So to kind of say this stuff about your fighter or not, I don't know. It's just something I wouldn't expect a head coach to do, to be honest. Let's move on to clip number 2. Not saying like a coach can't say he's disappointed in his student's performance. Absolutely, you can say that, but not on an interview like this. Say that in private. You know what I mean?
I think he needs to evaluate what he wants to do in the sport. If it's just to make money, then that's great. Let us know. I want to coach world champions. So my motivations are different. So I think that just to kind of show up and do that and not really back it up, just to me was just kind of uninspiring.
It kind of comes across he's making it out like Sean Strickland didn't try in this matchup against DDP, and I've seen some other people online kind of take this stance. People saying like, oh, he says he's going to fight to the death and all that stuff, and he never does. I will agree with people like that. I don't understand why Sean Strickland always says he's going to fight to the death, and then he doesn't until like the last 5 seconds of the fight, but he didn't even do that this time round. But they kind of paint the narrative that Sean Strickland just wasn't really trying in there, or he wasn't really up for it. I don't think is the case. I think Sean Strickland, like I said, he's a defense first fighter, offense second, and he just couldn't figure out the puzzle that was DDP in front of him. And to be fair to him, no one in the UFC is yet to be able to do that. Not Israel Adesanya, who's a very talented kickboxer, not Robert Whittaker, who is very, very well rounded, and a lot of people, including myself, thought DDP was going to be a heavy bag in there for Robert Whittaker. A lot of people cannot figure this guy's style out. I don't think it was a lack of effort or not the will to win for Sean Strickland. I think it was he is a very defensive fighter, and when he realised that he just couldn't figure out the puzzle, couldn't get the timing of DDP, it was as if he was just like, I'm just going to keep myself safe. I don't want to get into these exchanges with him, and especially after he got his nose broken all. It was just, I don't think it was a lack of effort on Strickland's behalf. I think it was just he couldn't figure out the puzzle that was in front of him. But I don't like this, to be honest. Eric Nicksick is a great coach, one of the best right now in the sport of MMA, has trained a lot of fighters, really good high-level fighters, and continues to. Sean Strickland obviously being one of them. But as a head coach, I just don't know. It kind of just, he's just threw Sean Strickland under the bus in this interview. Especially when, if you do watch this full interview, Ariel Helwani, I can't find it on his page, goes on to say about, are you now going to... And essentially, he kind of words it. This is not word for word what Ariel Helwani says, but it's a question along the lines of, are you and Sean Strickland now going to cut paths? Cut ties with each other and go separate paths? And it's kind of like, why? Because he lost a title fight rematch against DDP. Eric Nicksick says, he wants to coach world champions, and that's what he wants. Yo, you're coaching Chris Curtis. Bruh. No disrespect to Chris Curtis. That guy's never going to be a world champion. That guy is the biggest crybaby, biggest excuse maker in all of MMA. So if you're happy enough to stay by that guy's side the entire time, I think you should be very loyal towards Sean Strickland, who I'm sure has put a lot of money in your pocket with him being champion and having you in his corner and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, I would have expected more loyalty out of Eric Nicksick. But again, I don't know his and Sean Strickland's relationship, just from the outsider looking in. If I for me personally, I wouldn't want my head coach doing this. I wouldn't mind him saying he didn't like the performance and he was very uninspired by it to me, but I wouldn't want him to go on a show and then publicly say it out like that. Do you know what I mean? I don't really get it. I don't get why you would do that. I don't know. But again, I don't know his and Sean Strickland's relationship. I don't know. Also, another thing to finish off. Why do they have Alex Pereira in their corner? Now, that might sound stupid, right? Pereira, obviously, an all-time great. I think there's an argument he's top 10 of all time right now, and the guy's under 15 fights in the UFC. Obviously, one of the best, if not the best, strikers we've ever seen in the UFC. The guy's extremely talented, but to have him in there in Sean Strickland's corner, I've never understood it, because the guy doesn't speak English. So, and like, by the time something would be translated from Pereira into English to then Sean Strickland, like, fucking, it's done. So, I understand that they're very close friends, I think. Anyway, they're training partners. They do spar together. It's like, I don't understand why you have him in the corner. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But you can let me know your opinions in the comments below. I think this is snaky. This is sly. I don't think you should have done this. But you can let me know your opinions in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you again in the next one.